The ancient history of Theros is one clouded in mystery, with knowledge lost even to the gods of Nyx. The mortals of this plane believe that the gods they worship predate all life and even Theros itself, but some remember the very birth of Nyx, a time before gods, when terrible monsters ruled uncontested. These were the Titans. Though, as it turns out, these Titans would be the direct reason the gods on Theros exist at all. In this video, let's explore what the cards don't tell us about the ancient Elder Titans of Theros, and what exactly happened to those missing in Theros Beyond Death. Hello everyone and welcome back, Simon here with more Magic the Gathering lore. The Elder Giants, or Titans of Theros Beyond Death, are new creatures to the story of Theros that help redefine what we thought we knew about this plane and its history. It adds more context to what used to be a more mysterious origin of the gods who have become so iconic to Theros. Yet, in Theros Beyond Death, we only get 2 cards representing these Titans, when in all indications, it appears there were meant to be a whole cycle. So what are the Titans of Theros, and why are 3 missing? First, what exactly are the Titans from a lore perspective? We don't have a ton of information on them, as the Theros Beyond Death story was greatly diminished with Wizard of the Coast's card-centric storytelling model for this set. But from what we're given, the Titans of Theros acted much like the Titans of myth from ancient Greek culture. Theros is a world heavily inspired by our world's ancient Greek mythology, from the gods to creatures like hydras and satyrs. Think the Disney classic Hercules. That movie is Theros in a kid-friendly nutshell. And much like that animated classic and ancient tales, there existed beings that predate even the gods of the Pantheon, the Primordials, or Titans. These were massive elementals of earth, fire, wind, forces of nature who didn't think, only acted out in devastating fashion. This is how the Titans on Theros are described: beings of immense power, forces of nature given form. And they plagued Theros long before the first gods sprung up in Nyx. In the Greek myth, the Primordials were in fact the parents of the Greek Pantheon gods like Zeus and Hades. It was the duty of the children in this case to overthrow their progenitors. The gods banded together and deposed the Primordials from Earth, sealing them deep below the surface for all time. In a finally calmed landscape, humans could finally rise up and give worship to the gods, thus the creation myth of the gods, the world, and the people of ancient Greek culture. This is where the inspiration starts to peel off just a little bit. For while the Titans on Theros are responsible for the gods of Nyx, they aren't their parents. More so, they were the reason for the gods becoming a thing in the first place. This goes into the origins of the gods themselves, so let me explain. Much like ancient Greek mythology, the Titans on Theros waged a never-ending war on the mortals who already existed on the plane. They were forces of nature who acted simply out of their, well, nature. Needless to say, nature doesn't really care if you have a city built or not. It'll knock it over or eat it just the same. So with nowhere to run and no walls strong enough to repel these Titans, the mortals of ancient Theros did the only thing they could think of. They prayed. It's unknown what sort of magic works on this strange plane, and it's unknown if the mortals at the time realized what power their belief held. But praying on Theros actually worked. Their collective devotion, their need to believe and hope, took a physical form in the realm of Nyx. Coalescing magic and faith created the very first gods of the Pantheon. Now we can only speculate on what the original Pantheon may have looked like in those earliest days, but we can assume some fundamental beliefs first took shape. Without question, at least 2 gods were at the very dawn of Nyx: Crophix, the god of the horizon and the unknown, and Clothis, god of destiny. This makes sense because the people in Theros at that time of the Titans believed in their fates, putting their belief in a better destiny ahead of almost anything else. And of course they didn't really know anything outside of prayer or the Titans, which then spawned Crophix, because nothing's more universal than knowing that we know nothing. These gods were for sure some of the first, because Krothix remembers the actual births of several other gods in the Pantheon. And Klothys, well, she would be the one who actually seals the Titans away, at least for a few thousand years. As depicted in the saga card, The Binding of the Titans, we see the god of destiny chaining up the Titans after the original Pantheon defeated them in what was surely an epic battle to behold. As the god of fate, Klothys believed that the ultimate fate of Theros was tied to the Titans remaining sealed away for all time, for their escape could very well mean the end of everything. As such, Klothys charged herself with this duty, acting as seal and jailer of the Titans in the Underworld for the remainder of time. Until, of course, time was up and the Titans escaped. Enter the story of Theros Beyond Death. But there's something interesting about the art of the Binding of the Titans. If this shows the moment of the Titans being locked away, why do we see 2 or even possibly 3 more figures being chained by Klothys? We only have 2 Titans in Beyond Death, so what happened to the others? From the story in Beyond Death, we know that the Pantheon of Nyx is at war, gods versus gods, and that massive conflict inevitably spills into the mortal plane and even impacts the Underworld, the jail of the Titans. As the conflict rages, tears in reality, portals between realms begin to emerge, especially in the Underworld. Souls are allowed to escape, frightening monsters of Nyx appear, and all hell literally breaks loose. This is also how Elspeth Tirel escapes the Underworld. The chains holding the sealed Titans down begin to buckle, and Klothys, bound by her duty to stop fate from being worked around, sets off to return the escaped souls back to the Underworld. Again, this includes Elspeth. It was the perfect storm for the eventual release of the Titans. The 2 Titans we see in Beyond Death are Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger, and Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Looking at their art alone, we can just imagine how devastating these beings would be on a mortal realm of Theros. With their escape, countless lives are put in peril, and with the gods squabbling amongst themselves, it places Klothys back in action to correct the fate of Theros. I just want to take a moment to say how much of a flavor gem these 2 Titan cards are, that being their design and mechanics match so perfectly with their lore. As they enter play, they give you a unique effect, but go right to the graveyard. This shows how they were first imprisoned, but they both have the escape mechanic, symbolizing their escaping the Underworld prison and captor. Once escaped, they're out for good, and those devastating effects can occur each attack. Just spot on flavor. But still, the question remains. Titans were obviously set up to be a cycle, yet we only got 2. Where did the rest go? Well, we can make a weak lore argument that the chains were simply broken on Uro and Kroxa and not the others, but there's actually a more pragmatic and game development explanation for these missing Titans. In a weekly MTG video with guest Ian Duke from Research and Development, they let us know that yes, in fact, there were more Titans planned, an entire cycle, but at Mythic Rarity they just ran out of space in the set. We know the gods are at Mythic Rarity, and even though they cut plenty of gods from the roster for Beyond Death, we still got enough to make a full cycle of gods, but not enough for the Titans. We had only enough space to make a full cycle of gods, but not Titans, which meant having all of the gods and Titans in a single set was more of a dream than anything else. So what really cost those other Titans and the rest of the gods on Theros to appear in Beyond Death? The change to a single large set rather than blocks of multiple sets. If we had more sets dedicated to the developing story on Theros, we would probably see the rest of the Pantheon return along with those lost Titans. But as it is, we will never know what these progenitors of the gods could really do. Lost Titans and the origins of the gods on Theros are all tied to a simple theme, that nothing we know is fully the truth. Our first time on Theros, we knew of the gods and how all-encompassing they were. Now, in Beyond Death, the history of Theros has changed forever. That these Titans ruled before the gods and actually caused the gods to come into being fundamentally shifts what we thought about Theros. I hope you all enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, consider hitting that like button, subscribing, and taking the notification bell so you never miss out on a brand new video. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today, and until next time, see ya!